All right, we're going to talk about distributive property today. This is just an example. You can see what they're doing. This is just what it looks like. Hey, I'll show you what the rule is. Hey, when you distribute, what you're doing is you're taking 2 times the number, the first number, and you're adding it to 2 times the second number. You're just distributing the 2 to everything that's on the inside parentheses. Now, again, we could work out 2 plus 4. This is a very simple problem. It's very basic. Okay? Most people are thinking, oh, I don't need to do this. Well, for this, no, not necessarily. You should be able to do it without it. But I'm going to show you problems later on that where you have to. Where what's inside here cannot be added together. And so the only thing to do is distribute. So I take 2 times 2 and 2 times 4. Okay, the sign doesn't change. It stays there. And then this... If this is all it wants, write equivalent expression, then I'd be done. Okay, and let's see if it's equivalent. Let's see if it's equal to each other. So what's 2 plus 4? 6. 6 plus 2 is? Or 6 times 2 is? 12. What's 2 times 2? What's 2 times 4? What do you think 4 plus 8 is?
12.
Do they equal each other? Yes. So I can distribute and still get the same answer. All right, write all this down. All right, right here, this is the rule for distributive property. What they do is they show you what you're doing with A, B, and C, just letters. So you can replace those letters with numbers and sometimes with other letters. Okay. So this is what's being done. You're taking A times B, and then you're taking A times C. You're adding those two. So it's the sum of AB and AC. Now, as you notice, I'm showing that I'm multiplying by doing the little rainbow, right? By drawing A with B and A with C. Last hour, I had people work out problems on their own, and they were getting them wrong. They would do A times B, and then they would do B times C. Is that what this shows? No. Okay, so show the little rainbow, and it's going to make more sense. You're going to see, oh, hey, this is what I do. You're going to make less mistakes. Here I've got 5 times 6 plus 7. So I do 5 times 6, and then I add that to 5 plus 7. So I write an equivalent expression is what it wants. So 5 times 6 plus 5 times 7. Which it might say evaluate. So now I work it out. What's 5 times 6?
30.
What's 5 times 7?
35.
I get 65. If it says write an equivalent expression, then evaluate, here's my answer. This and that. If you don't have this, I'm not taking that tomorrow. If all you have written down for problem number 3 is 65, it is wrong. I will count it wrong. I want to show you, I want to see work. If you're not showing this, I'm not counting this. Does everybody understand that? Yeah. Now here, this is the rule is if you're subtracting, if this is a subtraction problem on the inside. I take A times B, and I take A times C, and what I do is this sign stays. It doesn't change. So I've got AB minus AC. Here, all they've done is they put the 8 behind the parentheses. Does it change what I'm doing?
No.
No, it's still a multiplication problem, so I do 8 times 9, and I subtract that from 8 times 3. So 8 times 9 minus 8 times 3.
72.
9 is 8, 72. 3 times 8 is 24. You work that out, you get 48. Now, yes, I know it is much easier to do 9 times 3, 9 minus 3 and get 6. 6 times 8 is 48. I know that's much easier. And that's what I had students do last hour. Okay? But again, this is getting you warmed up, showing you what you're doing with very basic math to get you ready for what's expected at the end of this lesson, at what we're going to do tomorrow and what we're going to do the rest of the year. This is really easy, yeah. And a little unnecessary to some people and think, oh, I don't need to do this. Yes, you do, because if you don't know how to do it now, you won't know how to do it when I've got variables in here, or when I've got 5 different numbers, or when this is times by like that, and you have to factor, or distribute that, or FOIL it, okay? There's a lot extra to it. So they teach you the very basics before they teach you the rest. So don't just think, I don't need to do this part. Yes, you do. So this would be mandatory and this would be mandatory. All right, here's what you're going to do. Your homework says write an equivalent expression, use distributive property, and then evaluate. So that's what you're going to do. I'm going to come by and check your answers. Evaluate 5 times 12 plus 4. So I take 5 times 12 and I do 5 times 4. And I add those two. So I rewrite it with an equivalent expression. 5 times 12 plus 5 times 4. Now I can work it out. I've wrote an equivalent expression. I can work it out. 5 times 12 is 60. 5 times 4 is 20. That gives me 80. For you, you got 80. Good job. Thank you. Now I do the exact same thing on the bottom problem. 8 times 20 minus 8 times 3. So I rewrite it with an equivalent expression. 8 times 20 minus 8 times 3. Now I can work it out. 160 minus 24 is 136. Any questions? You're going to see problems today. It's going to give you like this. It's going to say find the answer mentally. And then it's going to say justify using distributive property. I don't care if you actually find it, work it out mentally. And what matters to me as long as you justify using distributive property. But I'm putting this up here and showing you to it because this is what you've been doing since about 3rd grade when you learned multiplication. You just didn't realize it. Okay? 5 times 13 is the same thing as this. 5 times 10 plus 3. Which I can use distributive property. I can take 5 times 10 and 5 times 3 and get 50 plus 15, which gives me what? 65. This is what you've been doing all along. Let me prove it to you. If you had 13 here and you times it by 5, double digit multiplication. You do 5 times the first number. What's the first number? 3. Isn't that what we did here? 5 times 3. You get 15. Then you do 5 times 10. What is that? 50. Isn't that what we did here? So you guys have been doing distributive property since the 3rd grade. You just didn't realize it. You just wrote it out differently. Okay? Guess what 15 plus 50 is? So we're just writing it out different. Does it change anything? No. 13 times 15, I would do 13 times 10 plus 5. 13 times 10 is 130. 13 times 5 is 65. You add those, you get 195. That's what you're expected to do in the show, okay, this and that, if it says meant to justify your answer using distributive property, okay? I don't care if you actually find it in your head and you work out after, okay? It'd be fine if you just worked it out this way. All right, you need to write down 4x plus 5 and y plus 10x. This is what you're going to see, okay, on your homework a lot. It's going to say, use the distributive property to write each expression as an equivalent algebraic expression. Right? All that means is just work it, use the distributive property and simplify. Work it out as much as you can. So I use the distributive property. And again, this is what we've been leading up to. Okay? Before, we could add what's in there and multiply it and find the answer without having to do all that. But we've been practicing using distributive property numbers we know, so now we can work with numbers we don't know. We don't know what x is. And I can't add 5 to it because these are not like terms. They don't have the same variable. 5 doesn't even have a variable. So I can't add anything to this. I'm stuck with x plus 5. So someone came up with distributive property to work it out even further than being stuck at this. So I do 4 times x and 4 times 5. So I have 4x plus 4 times 5, which you should be writing down at this moment. Remember, what I write down on the board is what you write down. 4x plus 4 times 5. Now can I simplify? Can I do anything else?
Yeah.
What else? What else can I do? 4 times 5 and get 20. There's nothing else I can do after that, so that's my answer. This is an equivalent algebraic expression that I found using distributive property. Can I add 4x and 20? No, they're not like terms. They don't have the same variable. It's the same thing as in here. I can't add x and 5. That's why I have to multiply instead of adding. It's because I don't know what these are. I don't know what x is. So it stays. Here, exact same thing. I take 6 times y and then 6 times 10. So I rewrite it using distributive property. 6y plus 6 times 10. I work it out as much as I can. I get 6y plus 60. Any questions about that? Hey, if I'm going too fast, say something. I don't mind slowing it down. I don't mind talking about it. I want everyone to understand it. Any questions? All right. I want you guys to work these two problems out. I will come by and check your answers here in a minute. 3m minus 4, okay, 3 times m minus 4, I take 3 times m, I take 3 times 4. Everything I've noticed, okay, if you're messing them up, you're not showing the rainbows. So show the rainbows so you don't forget, oh, hey, I do 3 times 4. A lot of people leave this one as just 4. It's 3 times 4. Don't leave that off. 3 times m is 3m. I leave the sign, I do 3 times 4. Then I work it out, 3 minus 12. That's my answer. If you got that, good job. Okay. Now, the second one I kind of set you up to fail. You hadn't seen this yet. So I wanted to see who would figure it out. Now, one person had it halfway right, but they didn't finish it. All right. I take negative 9 times n. I take negative 9 times 7. Negative 9 times n is negative 9n. Most of you had that. Good. What I do is I drop the sign down. Okay, this goes there, and I do negative 9 times 7. What's negative 9 times 7?
Negative 63.
Negative 63. Okay. Now, some of you had that right up to here. Okay. And some of you didn't. Some of you had this. Okay, is that right? No. Okay, there should be 2 minus signs. What do I do when I see 2 minus signs side by side? I make them positive, and that's what the one person didn't do. He didn't make them positive. Here's my answer. Negative 9n plus 63. Okay? Now, again, okay, I see people get that wrong, so I say drop that sign down and I do negative 9 times 7. Here's the other way of doing it if you want to do it. You do negative 9 times n, you get negative 9n. Do negative 9 times negative 7. What is negative 9 times negative 7?
63.
Positive 63. Right? Would I still get the same answer? Yes. Okay? Alright, here's a little bit of redemption time. Okay, same type of problem. You guys work it out. I'll come and check your answer in a minute. Alright, I distribute negative 7 times e and negative 7 times 4. Negative 7e minus negative 7 times 4 is negative 28. They become positive. There's my answer. Negative 7e plus 28.
I did it right.
Alright, here's your homework assignment.